folks, and welcome to another Saturday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt, and today we're going to go over another one of my favorite actors, his top 5 films. We're talking about the man, Jackie Chan. I love Jackie Chan movies. I've been a fan since my number 5 movie of his came out. Don't want to talk about it right now because it is number 5 for that reason. It got me introduced to Jackie Chan, and I've been a fan ever since. Now, I will talk about all of the runners-up, because there are a lot of runners-up here. Drunken Master is kind of an honorable mention because it is epic. When you think classic Jackie Chan, I think a lot of people would put this maybe even in their top 5 because it has a lot of good karate in it. And it is good, and I do enjoy it, but it wouldn't make my top 5. It would probably make my top 10, but it would make it, the 9 or 10 slot if it did. If it made my top 10. I don't appreciate it as much as other people, even though I do enjoy it, because of course I enjoy Jackie Chan. Best Jackie Chan cameo, I would say, is I think it's The Protector. I think it was with Tony Jaa. And there's one quick clip where he's in the airport and he bumps into Jackie Chan. They look at each other, and then Jackie Chan bows to him and walks away, basically passing the torch that he's the next karate Asian star, whatever. I don't know, but I really like that. It kind of felt like The Rock in, what was that movie where he walks around with a 2x4, kicking people or beating up people. He bumps into Arnold at a nightclub, and Arnold was the governor back then, and he just kind of gives the nod to The Rock and says, "Good luck." That was The Rundown. That was one of The Rock's first movies on his own, after he played the Scorpion King in The Mummy. Was it the second one or the third one? I think it's the second one. But after that, he got his own movie called The Rundown, and I think Arnold just bumps into him and goes, "Good luck," or "Here's it's all you now," or something. And so that was kind of cool. So the Jackie Chan cameo, is that in my top? Would that be an honorable mention? Yeah, it would. I thought that was really cool. Some other ones that I thought were really good. There's a lot. You can't go wrong with the Jackie Chan movie. There's very few bad Jackie Chan movies. I mean, there's some hokey ones, like The Tuxedo was a newer one. Didn't really enjoy that one. And there's some other one. There's one he did for India where it's not that good of a movie, but at the end, Jackie Chan and everyone dances during the credits to some Indian song or whatever. And they're like, ding, and they're all dancing to this, and they're all doing this dance. And he's coordinated, he's getting to dance with everyone else. And I didn't really like the movie, but I love the end credits where they're all dancing, a happy little dance together. Even the villains and everyone are dancing together. Like, wait, what? Man, leave it to Bollywood to come up with some hokey garbage like that. But I can't remember the name of the movie either. I tried to look it up and I just couldn't remember. If I did some better searching, I bet I could. But that was kind of fun. The end credits of that one was kind of fun. But a few that I just couldn't put in that I really did enjoy. Operation Condor, really liked that one. There's some, of course, it became a tradition later on that Jackie Chan would do stunts, and in the credits you'd see those stunts go bad. And Operation Condor, he slips down a crevice or whatever. And I mean, he goes all the way down the crevice. Nothing's stopping him, but his body is just banging up against these rocks. And he is left on the stretcher. He is broken and bleeding afterwards. I mean, it was a big injury for him. And it is brutal to watch. But Operation Condor is a pretty solid film. Another one that my brother would definitely put on his top 5. I mean, no doubt about it. Because he still talks about this. It may be his number 1 Jackie Chan movie. I'm not sure. It is a good one, though. It's Project A. It's a really weird one. They came out with a sequel that wasn't as good. But Project A it's really weird. He's a ship captain, or it's a Navy battle that turns into a karate fight, and they're in these old mines or whatever. And I remember that there's this woman who fights him in high heels, and her high heels are very deadly. But there's another guy who's big and fat, and he's fighting too, and my brother started calling him Jelly Roll because he'd roll his fat as he was taunting his opponent. And I mean, he's just kind of weird and awkward. And, there's a guy in these silly looking, naval Commodore outfits, and they're fighting too. And it's like, what? It was just kind of just out there, just really, really weird. But I really enjoyed the fights. I thought they were really good, and my brother laughed the entire time. He said, "This has got to be the best Jackie Chan movie I've ever seen." He just thought it was so outlandish that he just really enjoyed it. Now, if that's what you like, more power to you. But for me, yeah, like I said, I may have good memories just watching it. I haven't rewatched that in years, so it's probably not as good as I remember. But I still had to put it in here because I had good memories watching it, and I do enjoy it. There is another one called Who Am I? I struggled on whether I should put that in there because that again is just another really great, has some really great action, some great fighting in it, and it has the epic scene where he is sliding down on a tall building. I don't know where this building is, but it has a slanted ceiling, glass ceiling. So Jackie Chan gets knocked down this ceiling, and this glass ceiling. It goes and it shows him just sliding down the entire time. But first he goes head first, then he turns around. He's trying to stop and slow himself, and he can't because it really is glass, and so he's just slick, and he's sliding down it. And he is trying to slow down, his pace because there's nothing but a small little ledge that when he hits it, and by the way, there is no net. If Jackie Chan misses this, he dies. He dies. Okay, so what he does is he slams up against the ledge and lifts himself up just enough. He bounces himself so he doesn't fall over. But if he falls over that ledge after that slide, he's dead. Very dangerous. I think I remember reading an autobiography. We talked about how dangerous that was. And he would never do that again. And he's so glad that actors don't have to take dangerous stunts like that. But he just, back in the day, you just did the stunt, right? There's no net. You just do the stunt. Hopefully you don't die. And he was positive in his ability to do it. And so they filmed it, and of course he, slips up and goes almost over the edge, but bounces himself over and falls back. And you don't realize how dangerous that wasn't filmed on a lot. That's an actual building that he almost fell off of. And you see this all the time. You've probably seen the ugly, hard videos too of the people who die doing these building videos, right? They jump on the videos, they're dancing on the ledges and grabbing things and doing one arms and stuff. Sometimes they lose their grip and then they fall to their death. The camera doesn't show it, thank goodness, but they fall to their death. Or they lose their, they get kind of tired. They strain a muscle in their arm and then they can't move and they're sitting there hanging. And they don't panic or cry out, at least the video doesn't catch it. And then they just slip and fall. And that's just terrifying to me why people would want to ledge dance or do something that dangerous. Kind of stupid too. Even in my most rambunctious days, I would never do something that would get me killed. The only thing that I think I did back in the day that I thought was that now I think was really stupid, I cliff jumped. Where it was only 4 feet. So I mean, gosh, 4 feet is nothing, right? But there was this girl we were with, and she was guiding us through. She went, okay, now these cliffs, you just jump to the next mountain from here to here. And I mean, it was a drop. I mean, you die if you slip or trip. You die if you don't jump 4 feet. Now, shoot, you could almost step over 4 feet, right? But you kind of don't want to do that either. You may lose your balance. Just don't look down. And so she just ran and just jumped it real quick. She went, come on. I am terrified at this point, but I'm not going to let this girl show me up. So I was like, okay, here I go. And the whole time I just said, just don't think about falling. And I remember I ran and I jumped, early, but I made sure I cleared it by like probably 5 feet. I probably jumped 9 feet. I was like, oh, and I made it, but my heart was beating for a minute. And I didn't want to see how scared I was, but I never would have gone on the hike with her if I had known I would have had to jump that ledge. Because like I said, you slip up, you're dead. Now, of course, 4 feet, a 4-foot jump, anyone should be able to make that. But at the same time, I wouldn't even do that, I only did that just to cover for my manhood. I almost wanted to run down the hill screaming and crying, but I was like, okay, it's only 4 feet. We can do this. I almost thought about stepping over. I said no, because I'm going to look down and then I'm going to lose my balance and die. So I did the jump, and I remember the other dangerous thing maybe I did that was really, and it was really stupid. We used to jump over this huge bonfire. Every New Year's Eve there was this bonfire, and we used to jump over it, and we took turns, just taking turns jumping over it. And you were not in any risk of falling into this fire. We always knew how to time the jumps. Yes, it was tall, and we're talking bonfire. A good 6 feet, I bet, of fire. And sometimes you'd land on the ash and you'd run real quick. Your clothes would be smoking. and the flames kind of licked at you, but just kind of how you'd, wave your hand over a candle real quick, you don't get burned. Well, there was one time we got our signals crossed. I ran the same time as someone else, and we collided mid-air over the bonfire. We both fell in the bonfire. He fell in head first. I fell in feet first, kind of feet in, and I kind of fell backwards. He fell forwards. And he had some serious burns. He didn't, they weren't, life-changing for him, but he got burned pretty bad. His hands, his head, his face suffered some burns. But, I mean, it wasn't too bad because he kind of rolled out of the fire real quick, suffered a few burns, and he had to be taken to the hospital just to be treated, but he was all right. I fell feet first. I mean, I fell backwards into it. So the bottom half of me was in. Someone grabbed me and took me out and kind of put me out real quick. And it melted it didn't burn me at all. It melted my shoes. It ate through my jeans. And somehow it just didn't touch me. And I remember I was like, wow. But I mean, my jeans were and they pulled off my jeans. And I was sitting there in my whitey tighties back then. The only thing that hurt me was my pride. I was so embarrassed because I had to walk back to the car pantless. Everyone could see me without my pants on, in my underwear. And I just felt so embarrassed and felt so stupid. My parents are yelling at me. My shoes are completely melted. I mean, I really lucky I didn't have any burns on me. They checked me for burns. They didn't have any burns, no sore spots. So I didn't have to go to the hospital. He did. But he turned to be all right. Now, another reason he went to the hospital, I remember, was he had firecrackers in his front pocket, and the firecrackers went off and really burned him bad on his chest area. And he had a few other burns, too, from the firecrackers in his pocket. But he was, eventually he turned out all right. Nothing serious afterwards. He all healed up. You couldn't even tell he was actually in a fire now when you see him. He's still a good friend of mine. But that was kind of stupid, too. Only stupid because we collided. Would I do it again? Heck no, I wouldn't jump over a bonfire. Are you kidding me? But I'm just saying, I never did that many stupid things as a kid, or as a teenager. I mean, we did you've heard me talk about this with my brother. We did some train jumping. But the only thing dangerous about train jumping was the dismount. It always sucked to dismount because you were going to fall, and there was no way to fall on those hard gravel rocks. You need to make sure you jump away from the train, but you were going to hit those gravel rocks, and it was going to cut you and bang you up and bruise you a little bit. But other than that, you're not really going to, unless you don't, you fall wildly, you're going to dislocate a shoulder or break an arm or something. But we knew to tuck and roll, we had enough common sense to tuck and roll and land correctly, and not with our hands. We learned that the very first time. Don't put your hands out. Had some damaged, battered and bruised hands, but we had battered and bruised sides, ribs, and back as we fell. Sometimes your head would get knocked, and that really sucked. But other than that, it wasn't that dangerous, not to me at least. Would I do that again? Probably not, because I don't know if I could survive a dismount like that. Heck, even jumping off my roof, which I did do last time I went up there to fix something. I remember thinking, oh, geez, I shouldn't do this. Now I just go ahead and jump, because I'm so chicken. I'm so scared of a 12-foot drop. It's not going to hurt me. It never really has. I used to jump off roofs all the time. Even as a little kid, I used to jump off the roof. I think all little kids used to do that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. But I don't know. I just don't do those dangerous things anymore. So just to imagine that Jackie Chan did super dangerous stunts like that is incredible. So anyway, those are kind of my honorable mentions. I don't want to mention anymore, but I will get to my top 5 here. My number 5 is the movie that brought me in to be a Jackie Chan fan. This was one of his first big movies that came out in theaters. And I remember it was introducing Jackie Chan, and it was dubbed over. I don't think it was even Jackie Chan's voice back then. It may have been. I just can't remember. But it was Rumble in the Bronx. Rumble in the Bronx has a ton of awesome action scenes to show you just how cool Jackie Chan is. And when I saw this, I saw the trailer, I remember, I was going, oh man, this is awesome. And I wasn't really into martial arts films. And I know Drunken Master was playing on TV back in the old days, on the when they had nothing to play in the midnight. At midnight, you'd watch that. But I wasn't into old martial arts movies. Wasn't into Bruce Lee or anything like that. But got to see Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan did a lot of things. He did a lot of things with props, sliding through things. And then, of course, at the end credits, you get to see all the mess ups, which I thought was really cool. He kind of rappels down from a rope and drops down onto a boat. The first time he did it, he broke his leg or broke his ankle or his foot. So they had to put a cast on him. Well, he still had to finish the movie So they made the cast look like a sneaker. So he wore white sneakers for a moment, but one of his shoes is just a little bit bigger because it's a cast, really. And so they doll it up as much as you can so he can still do other stunts. That's right, he was doing other stunts on his broken ankle or twisted ankle or whatever it was. I was like, oh man, that's incredible. And I remember thinking, man, Jackie Chan was so cool. And you're throwing the punches and the kicks and you're talking about the cool action scenes, and that's what Jackie Chan was all about. He's a smart guy. He knows what sells to the American public. He went, hey, this should be my introductory, because he was big, overseas he was big, but he wanted to break into the U.S. market. And I remember reading his autobiography, him saying this. He thought this was the vehicle he needed to break into the U.S. Rumble in the Bronx was the first movie he wanted to be introduced with. And by the way, great pick. Honestly, one of his best, still today. It's been a long time since I've rewatched this, a couple of years, but I still enjoy Rumble in the Bronx. I think it's a great film. My number 4 is a newer film of his. It's the Shanghai Night / Shanghai Noon. I think Shanghai Noon was the first one that came out. Shanghai Nights was a sequel. Duology. They never came out with a trilogy. I don't know what they would have called it. Shanghai Morning. I don't know. I guess they would have. But anyway, Owen Wilson. He teams up with Owen Wilson. It's really funny. The outtakes are hilarious because I love Jackie Chan, but he can never learn English. And he always messes things up. And Owen Wilson's talking to him like, what did you just say? Your baby sister? Your babysitter? What does that mean? Babysitter. No, don't mean that, But he and Jackie Chan get along really well. There's an awesome, I think it's a shoe horse tied to a rope is one of his odd weapons he has. And it's a rope trick he's done in other movies. I later on found out. But this one has a horseshoe. So he's fighting with it. And it's really cool. There's a lot of great, and to be honest, the fighter's only as good as the choreography of the fight, right? And the choreography is really flawless. There's a lot of great stuff in Shanghai Noon. And of course, his name is Chun Wang, John Wayne. And he's like, Owen Wilson, I still remember this. He's like, Chun Wang? Oh, that's a terrible cowboy name. Chun Wayne. No, Chun Wayne, terrible cowboy name. You need to get you a better cowboy name. And it's just really awesome. It's such fun. Shanghai Nights is a big step down from Shanghai Noon. It probably didn't make as much money, which is why they never came out with the third one. It's still good. They go out to London. They kind of take it away from the Wild West. I don't really like that. But they go out to London and have an adventure. But there is a hilarious outtake. One of the best outtakes in any Jackie Chan movie. And it's from Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson is yelling at this kid in this movie because he's an orphan. He said, and you wouldn't know that because you don't have parents because you're an orphan. And it's just really mean and mean-spirited, and it's really funny too. But during the out clips, Owen Wilson's just yelling at him. He's like, and you wouldn't know that because you don't have any parents because you're an orphan. And then he starts laughing and went, that is so mean. And walks away like crying. He's laughing so hard. And it just tickled me too. I laughed at it twice. Even I already knew the joke and laughed at the joke the first time, but then seeing the, blooper reel, I was like, oh, that's even better. But Shanghai Night, Shanghai Noon, or Shanghai Noon, Shanghai Nights is really good and really enjoyable. It's one of just 2 of his newer films. I say newer films because a lot of them that I really love are some of his older films that he made and then later on got imported over to the U.S. So I'll go ahead and get number 3 out of the way, and probably everyone knows what I'm talking about here, Rush Hour. The Rush Hour movies with Chris Tucker. They are fantastic. Chris Tucker rose to fame with Friday. From there, I think he did The Fifth Element. He did Jackie Brown for Quentin Tarantino. He did Money Talks with Charlie Sheen, which I enjoyed. I haven't seen in years, but I remember enjoying it. And then he did Rush Hour with Jackie Chan. And after that, Chris Tucker stopped doing acting. He only wants to do Rush Hour movies. And so he did Rush Hour 2 and Rush Hour 3. He's retired from acting. He won't do movies anymore. He said, though, if they make, and there was rumor that they were going to make a Rush Hour 4 again, bring them back. He said, yeah, I'll come out of retirement and work with Jackie Chan and the director. But when he made that movie, he's like, this is perfect. This is what I want to do. I want to do these type movies. And Chris Tucker, to be honest, he's really hilarious. I always liked Chris Tucker in all of his movies. I thought he played a good character. He's extremely funny. And in Rush Hour, the classic classic phrase, "Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth?" And this is back when Jackie Chan was really having English problems. He was trying to speak better English. But 1, 2, and 3 have all amazing scenes, and Chris Tucker's the hilarious sidekick. It's a sidekick comedy where he's trying to do his karate too, but it's not as good as Jackie Chan's. I can't remember which movie it was. I get these movies mixed up, but there's one. I remember I saw the behind the scenes DVD, and they talk about there's one where these two big containers are smashing into each other, and Jackie Chan has to jump out, kind of jump from one wall to the next and kind of get out before they smash into each other. Well, during the first initial take, Jackie Chan slipped. And the director said for 1 month, because Jackie Chan said, he told Jackie Chan, "We're going to get a stunt double in here." He's like, no stunt double, I do this. He went, "Are you sure? Because this is kind of dangerous, and I can't stop these garbage or these big bins colliding into one another." He's like, "No, don't worry, I can do this." Well, he slipped during it, and he almost didn't make it out. I mean, he almost got killed. It was one of their very first stunts he did, and the director paused. He said he lost, there's a big collective gasp from everyone, the whole cast and crew when he slipped. He went, and he said that moment the director thought, "Oh my God, I've killed Jackie Chan." That's exactly what he thought. He said, "This is the movie where Jackie Chan dies." In an American movie where he's supposed to be safe, we're supposed to use safety nets and strings. He said there was nothing protecting him. He said after that, they definitely made sure that it would never happen again. Accidents like that would never happen again. In fact, Jackie Chan was a little upset. He had to wear a wire when doing a stunt where he grabs onto a big wall flag in a big auditorium. And I think he takes a knife and then, holds onto the knife as he's... No. Someone holds onto the bottom of the flag, and he jumps from the roof and lands on the flag and then flies all the way to the bottom of the floor of the building. And I remember when they looked at everything, Jackie Chan gave the idea of what he could do, what stunt he could do, and the director looked at him and went, "Wait, you would do that?" He went, "Yeah, I can do that. That's easy." Well, they had to put him on a wire, and he did not want to put on a wire. He's like, no, I'll be safe. Don't worry. And they said, "No, Jackie Chan, you don't understand. If you fall or if something goes wrong, you're going to die from this height. You can't survive that drop." He's like, no, it's going to be fine. He did not want to wear a wire, but he had to. Now, the wire was there for protective purposes. They never used it. It was only there for if he fell off. There were men ready to hold on to him so he wouldn't get damaged. That was the condition they made. But there are still some amazing stunts in all 3 of the Rush Hour films. And like I said, I remember a lot of them. These are films I would watch again. And now that I'm talking about them, I need to watch again. I enjoyed all of them. I thought they were really good. I think 3 came out way later than the first 2. First 2 came out kind of back to back, and then 3 waited a few years. But I remember Chris Tucker, who doesn't do movies anymore, said, "No, the only movies I'll do is with Jackie Chan and whoever the director was, and we're going to do a Rush Hour 4, and that's the only thing I want to come back for." And so, hey, if that's what he wants to do, I don't blame him, because I think that series is amazing. I really do. All right, so that's it for newer Jackie Chan movies. Now we're going to get to some of my favorite movies. And this is my brother's number 1. It's my number 2, my brother's number 1. It's called First Strike. Oh, First Strike has the epic ladder scene, if you know what I'm talking about, where he fends off and fights off a bunch of people with a ladder. Because that was Jackie Chan's MO, right? Grab a random object and turn it to a weapon and see how many stunts you can do with said object. And that's what Jackie Chan was known for, and that was what he was good at. And I'll be honest, First Strike, the ladder scene, it is great. It's so good, especially as he keeps taunting the villains and he's just attacking them and killing them or taking them out with a ladder. My brother absolutely adores everything about First Strike. Now, there's a lot of other action scenes too that are really extremely good. And I remember we sat down and watched First Strike again. This was about 5 years ago or something. He went, "It's so good. It's the best movie ever. Best Jackie Chan movie." We were kind of arguing what the best Jackie Chan movie was. And then I showed him my number 1. I said, "Yeah, I think it's still better." He doesn't agree. Now, this was a series. And I'm going to name the entire series that I absolutely love, except for the newest installment. Didn't like that one. But Jackie Chan was really old. He was basically just reprising his role and letting someone new come in. It is the actual movie in America when it came out was called Super Cop. the actual real, it was actually Police Story number 4 is what we saw. They just renamed it Super Cop. And this is back when they were dubbing Jackie Chan back in the day. But I love Super Cop. The Super Cop action is just very fluid. It's very quick. It's very visual. There's a lot of creative fight scenes in it. And when I found out that this was a story called Police Story 4, I was like, what? Wait a minute. What? There are more of these? I went back and watched the first 3. In the first Police Story, there is a scene where he's attacking, I think he's attacking different people, and he's using one of those office chairs, rolling office chairs. Incredible fight scene. Honestly, one of the best of Police Story. Police Story 2 has I think it's a motorcycle chase scene in it that is incredible. Jackie Chan showing off his driving skills and stuntman skills that way. Don't remember 3 as well, but I know it did have a lot of great action in it. And they did, a few years ago, I want to say just 2 years ago, came out with another Police Story. And this is, he's older, he still plays the same character. He doesn't get to fight as much, but Jackie Chan is older. He can't do the stunts that he could back in the day. And they have his daughter in it. His daughter has grown up, and now she knows karate, and so she's really fine it. The story, like in and of itself, was pretty good, but I remember it was a little bit slower paced because, you know, they want to get more story in there. Jackie Chan doesn't want to make it all mindless action. But sorry, Jackie Chan, that's what we're used to. So, again, I thought it was really slow paced. I liked a few bits and pieces of it. I like the setup. I like the idea. He's captured, you know, held hostage in this kind of like mini mall or mini market or whatever, and his daughter comes in to save the day. So, like I said, it's all right, but not as good. I mean, I appreciate him coming back and reprising his role in the series, but I don't know how well it matches with everything else. It's kind of hard to tell how much continuity takes place within these films because they were kind of mindless action films back then that they string along an overall storyline from. But it's basically like if you've ever seen Last Action Hero, these are Jack Slater films. You know, Jackie Chan does great action again. Come see it. Now, I'll be honest, I would probably buy the entire I would watch definitely except for the last one. I would watch the entire Police Story all over again, with Police Story 4, aka Super Cop, being the best one of the bunch. But Police Story in its own is Jackie Chan's masterpiece, in my opinion. It is really, really good. Now, I know I skipped a ton of Jackie Chan movies. Some of his newer stuff, some of his comedy. I think he's made a kid movie before. There's a lot of Jackie Chan movies out there that you may think are better movies. And to be honest, I can't really argue with you because it's Jackie Chan, man. Who doesn't like some Jackie Chan? I can't imagine someone not liking Jackie Chan. But Jackie Chan does, you know, a lot of great stuff. And anything that you have, like there's what was that movie called that I saw? It didn't come out too low. The Foreigner. The Foreigner is not very good at all. Jackie Chan's trying to do his acting, which I get. But I expected to love The Foreigner. I heard it was something good. I really didn't like it. I was really bored with it. So Jackie Chan isn't infallible. I'm trying to think of other movies off the top of my head. Oh, he did the remake of The Karate Kid. The only reason I saw it was because of him. I thought The Karate Kid was a terrible movie. He played Mr. Han. He didn't want to play Mr. Miyagi because Mr. Miyagi is a legend, so he didn't want to be Mr. Miyagi. I appreciate that. But again, that movie just wasn't as good. Now, he's done other little things. I'm trying to think. What did he do? He did some other newer stuff like Vanguard, Bleeding Steel. I'm trying to think. What was that kid movie? Spy Next Door. I saw that one, and I was like, ooh, that is so hokey. Trying to look over my honorable mentions here to see if I had another one. The Accidental Spy is kind of okay. You know, he's not supposed to be this spy. He is, and, you know, that was okay. It almost made my top 5. But eventually I let it go. Operation Condor, I should mention, did come with a sequel. I don't remember much of it. But like I said, it is an honorable mention for me. I'm just trying to rack my brain here because I know there's tons of other ones I'm probably missing. Any of this old stuff, I don't remember. I knew that Police Story is just really awesome, though. But those are the ones I can think of. So let me know in the comments, what were your favorite Jackie Chan movies? Are you a big Jackie Chan fan? Or do you like Tony Jaa? I thought about doing a Tony Jaa top 5, but there's not really many Tony Jaa movies that I enjoy. In fact, he kind of stopped making movies a long time ago, kind of took a break from it all. But anyway, Jackie Chan is the man. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you next time with more Saturday Morning Samoflange.